You are listening to Unequaled with Jaycee Carroll and Ajay Salveson. But first, our friends, the Painted Roses.
Welcome to another edition of the Unequal Podcast. So good to have you guys joining us, however, wherever you're doing so from. Jaycee Carroll, I'm Ajay Salveson. Episode 9. I was told from a podcasting expert, JC, that if you get through episode number 6, you're golden. Then your podcast is actually going to be a success. And so producer Adam will be like, hey, do you want to know the numbers on the last listenership? No, don't tell me about the stats, the numbers, how many listens. I don't want to know because I'll just be so critical of it. But episode 9, so we've made it through the hard point, the threshold.
Oh, good. I'm excited. Honestly, as much as anything, I'm just enjoy talking to some of these people we've had.
Oh my gosh, it's just so good.
There's some people who really inspire me. They have good stories, good background, a lot of insights that I'm able to go out and use in my life and my little coaching gig I got with my kids. So it's great. And today's just no exception, or it's exceptional. The person we have. I met him probably about a year ago and just left super impressed. So really excited about today.
Yeah, Coach Rob Neilson of Utah State Volleyball has been nothing but success. Anything he touches turns to gold. And that's been the case here in Logan, Utah State University. Is it back-to-back Mountain West Conference Championships? Do I have that right?
That's right.
Yeah, don't be modest. Let's say
we'll brag about that all day long.
He joins us here on the Unequal Podcast. Coach, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you. As we celebrate March Madness week, Aggies are in the tournament. They'll get ready to go to Indianapolis, Indiana to take on the TCU Horned Frogs in the Ep-9 game. You have yourself participated in the NCAA tournament as well. What did you learn of the experience of being in the NCAA tournament? Just the atmosphere, the level of intensity, and the talent kind of notches up another after, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just bigger. And, we came out the last 2 years, had an opportunity to compete in the national championship matches. And going into that tournament, right, you're coming from a conference where you've had a lot of success and you've been able to kind of play your game. And the last 2 years, we've gotten matched up with teams, kind of like the basketball team is a tough team from a Power 5 conference. The basketball team played against TCU. We played against Arkansas, the Razorbacks, and then this last year played against Minnesota, the Golden Gophers. So teams that have come through the gauntlet of their conferences, and just how tough and the level of play. And I think, probably the physicality stood out to me more than anything, the physicality of the teams that we played, and just, the need for precision and the importance of little things. And, just the windows get smaller for you to attack in, and the blocks get bigger and the serves get tougher. And so just the need to be a little bit sharper and play a little tougher. And certainly we are excited to improve and increase kind of the physicality of our team and see how that helps us as we go into hopefully future tournaments.
Yeah, it's awesome. Let's talk about your background a little bit. When did you start in volleyball? Even before that, we talked a little bit off air, but where'd you grow up? Why did you go around? Why did you move around so many places? A little bit about where you got started.
Yeah, so my dad was a CPA, worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers and a big accounting firm, and he took a number of different jobs. And so I grew up a little bit in Salt Lake, lived right under the U in Federal Heights until I was about 8, and then we moved back east to Connecticut. And then when I was just about starting high school, we moved to Southern California. And so I played a ton of different sports. I was a basketball guy growing up and played on travel teams. Usually played with kids, a couple years older than me, and then also played a ton of tennis. And so when I was coming into high school, I was, played with basketball kids that were a grade older than me, and in the spring I needed a sport, so I went out, talked to the tennis coach and didn't love this vibe from him, and so all my basketball friends had played volleyball, had gotten into volleyball. They loved the cross-training aspect of it. So all these Cache Valley kids volleyball is just starting now. Men's volleyball has just been sanctioned in high school now. So I'm excited to see kind of the crossover for basketball kids getting into the volleyball space and, how much success that brings. And so started playing in ninth grade, wasn't really very young, but, played for some incredible coaches. Played for, won a national championship with a 16-year-old team. That was maybe, one of the better teams that has played in those competitions. So I was lucky to be a part of that. And then got recruited to play at BYU. So I went to BYU, played there for 4 years, and again, lucky to be part of a national championship team in 2004 with a great group of guys. Learned a lot from legendary coaches at BYU, and then finished my time there and started into coaching. And just got to work with some incredible coaches along the way. Coached at BYU with the men for about 10 years, left, and then we started a software company in the volleyball analytics space, and ran that, grew that. Basically, it represents every collegiate team now. It's kind of the standard in college and international volleyball. And so we sold that to Huddle in 2017, I think, and was looking to get back into coaching. So I had an opportunity with the USA men's team for the quad 2017 to 2020. We qualified for the Olympics, finished third in the World Championships, had one of the more successful quads in USA volleyball. Again, lucky to be around an incredible group of athletes and incredible coach. The head coach, John Spraw, is just unbelievable human being and unbelievable coach. And then was trying to figure out what I was going to do after the Olympics. And the job at Utah State came open. I'd been to Logan one time to visit the previous head coach and just remember how beautiful it was and thinking, man, this has got to be a great place to raise a family. And then remember getting to the facilities and was blown away by the Estes and, just thinking, hey, this is a great training spot. And then had seen the success that the basketball team had, under Coach Smith, winning a couple of conference championships. And just thinking, man, this is a place where we can build a great program. So that was kind of the arc of me coming to Utah State.
All right, that's awesome. There's a lot there. Let's back up to BYU, 2004, you're national champion. There's not a lot of those right around. Like that's unique. That's special. What position did you play at BYU?
So I was a setter.
Okay.
And I was actually the backup for the National Player of the Year that year in 2004. His name was Carlos Moreno. So he was starting on that team, and we had an incredible run. And then I basically started the next two seasons, 2005 and 2006. And so I was on a bench, playing for this incredible team. And I think that gave me some perspective, certainly not being the superstar. Spent a lot of time with coaches and learning about the game. But I think more than anything, what is so great about those memories is that as our team gets together, we never talk about the wins. We never talk about the national maybe a little bit about the national championship game in that moment because we came back. It was this unbelievable comeback in the fifth set. But mostly we talk about just the trash we talked to each other in practice and how intense it was and, how hard we worked and how hard we pushed each other and how important this whole group was to the collective success. And I think we all felt a part of it and we all got to celebrate together. And so that's, been really important to me as I look back at that experience, but then also as I try and help create current championship experiences for not just our starters, but, the players that don't have as big of a, outside facing role, but man, are just as important to the success that we've been able to have.
No, that makes sense. And honestly, hey, Gary, we'll get sent on the other day. And whenever I get together with my teammates, the idea is similar. We don't really talk about the games we won, the championships. We talk about the funny things that happen. We make fun of coach. We make fun of Ty Wesley the day we got compression shorts to the workout. Fallon, Jared Quell, with his package in the elevator. Those kinds of things are the things that we'd all talk about. So it's funny that you say that, and that everyone contributes, and those are the things you remember when you get back with a national championship team. It's right. Everyone outside of the team, like, they remember those things, but the players aside, you kind of remember those experiences throughout travel and on the bus and all those sorts of things that happen. All right, so from there, you finish up at BYU, and then where'd you go?
So I finished up playing at BYU and then jumped right into coaching.
Who was your coach there? Was that the coach? He's mentioned this coach a couple times. It was a great coach.
Yeah, so Carl McGowan is kind of the guy that I consider my mentor.
Okay.
He recruited me to BYU, and I went on and served a Mormon mission. When I came back, he had actually left BYU. So I played for a different coach.
Okay.
His name was Tom Peterson. And then got into coaching at BYU and worked for about 4 or 5 years. And in 2012, started working for Chris McGowan as the head coach. So Carl's son.
Okay.
And Carl was back in the gym and, just really got a chance to learn from both of them. But yeah, from Carl, and he's just this Hall of Fame coach, kind of the standard in volleyball.
And what made Carl so special? What was unique about him? What made him someone that was a winner, a Hall of Famer, that made you want to emulate some of the things he did?
He was a student of everything, I think, and especially a student of the game. But he was a professor at BYU for a number of years before they had a men's volleyball program, and he taught motor learning. And so I think he was one of the pioneers to bring, scientific study and rigor of how do we improve, how do we attain skill, how do we get better at something, how does what we do in practice actually transfer to what we're doing in matches and how we prepare. And he was meticulous with the way that he went about it. Every practice for us was an experiment, and it was kind of this, hey, we're gonna play a small-sided game with these players, and then we're going to rotate some players, and we're going to see what happens then, and then we're going to rotate a couple other variables and see what happens there, and the best players are going to kind of rise to the top. And so just he brought this really competitive environment. He brought this, hey, we want to study and learn, and we want to be the best, and we're doing these things, we're basing the principles on how we train based on kind of scientific studies and reasoning. So he had reasons for why we did what we did, which I think is incredibly valuable. But then he was just a salesman, and not like a raw salesman, but just, man, he believed in what he was doing so strongly that, he just kind of imbued that in all of us, that, hey, we're going to be successful because we're training this way. And I think it just created, and obviously the training methods weren't perfect, but I think just the belief that it instilled in all of us as players was really impactful, really foundational, and it really set us apart in our belief when we started to get into challenging circumstances, that we were ready for whatever would come to us.
Where'd you serve a mission at?
Croatia.
So Jaycee and I was having this conversation with a couple of guests, but for example, like when they get off on the mission, like how is their body trained back into basketball? How long does it take to get back into basketball? For you in volleyball, how long did it take to get home? Because I don't know if they play a lot of volleyball in Croatia, or if you had a lot of chance to play volleyball in Croatia, but when you get back, what was the training and conditioning program like for you to finally get back into shape to play again?
So I was a setter, and so, I don't know, for all your listeners, a setter, it's like soft hands, and you're trying to control this ball. You're kind of rebounding it, but without deflecting it. I mean, you're trying to almost like catch and release this thing really quickly. And I described to people that coming back off my mission, I was setting the ball like Edward Scissorhands. I was just cutting this all up, and it was disastrous and terrible. And we always found that it took about a year to get kind of that skill level back. Getting back in physical shape was the easiest part of it. But getting kind of the technical skill and just the ability to control the ball and get it to go consistently where you want to go, getting that touch back, took about a year. And that proved true with almost everybody that we had that would come back from mission.
Hi, this is Karen Nielsen with Guild Mortgage in Logan, Utah. Beyond great rates, we're committed to ongoing customer service even after your loan closes. We want you to experience knowledge, communication, and amazing customer service for a lasting relationship. Make Guild Mortgage your trusted partner.
Conn Smith was a former assistant of Team USA in 1984, Coach Michael Jordan, or was an assistant under Bobby Knight for that Olympic team. And he said the gap between college basketball players, Division I great players, and then to go to the Olympics was night and day. Like, there was a massive Grand Canyon gap. When you went to Team USA and you were seeing these other teams around the world in the Olympics, were you like, oh my gosh, the talent around the world? I mean, even with as talented as your team was there still a massive talent that like you saw from like regular Division I volleyball? Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. It was massive. So with the BYU team, that's perennially a top 5 program in the country.
Sure.
Always competing for national championships. And one of the stories that I always tell is that we would decide we wanted to do something tactically on the court, and it would take us about 2 weeks of working with the athletes to figure out if they could do it technically, right? If they could figure out the skill of how to do it. And I remember in the USA gym having a conversation with a coach, hey, we want to change up our system. How can we, let's see if we can figure this out. You have this theory about how you want to play and spacing and how you want to maneuver. And I remember talking to our setter, Micah Christensen, who's one of the best in the world. And he got together with David Smith, who was a middle blocker, and they're starting to work on this relationship. And so what would take us 2 weeks at BYU with one of the best teams in the country took Micah and Dave 3 reps to get it and figure out, completely change what they were doing, kind of the relationship that they had. And those guys were so unbelievably amazing. And a season for college athletes, on the men's side, for our season goes from the end of August to the middle of December. For the men goes, early January to, if you get to the national championship game, you're at the end of May. And then you're in kind of a training block. You have summer off, basically, and then you come back in the fall and you train a little bit. For the men's national team, they would come to us in May at the end of their pro seasons. They would train with us all the way through to October, mid-October, and you'd have a international tournament or competition. And then they would go immediately back to their professional teams and play in like an Italian Cup that following weekend. So you'd go from a world championship with one team to playing in an Italian Cup the next weekend, and you play a professional season. And so they maybe had a week off a year. And it almost seemed like the more time we gave them off, it gave their body time to actually like break down and realize. And so we went away from giving them any breaks. Hey, we just always wanted to keep them active. And just the things they learn, the skill, the ball control that they learn from playing that much at that high a level is absurd. And so when you get the best of the best together at a national team level, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And so, yeah, it is a Grand Canyon worth of skill development difference.
No, that makes sense. And, a lot of people don't understand what international volleyball, basketball looks like. We have a lot of sports here in the United States. We don't need to look beyond our borders very often. But what you said was right with those dudes that are playing professionally overseas. I had teammates, and most recently, like Ricky Rubio from basketball, he's like, I have to take a break, and just kind of stopped. And, he's been playing like that since he was 16 years old. There is no break. I'd come home after 10 months, it'd be 10 months of basketball, and then I would shut it down completely for the month of July. August, I started getting back to the gym. But I had those 2 months of just kind of not doing anything. But my teammates that play in the national teams, we would finish July 1st, and they would have to report with the national team July 14th.
Mm-hmm.
And they would play exactly like you said, all the way up till right the end of September. They come back, practice with us twice, and we go to the Super Cup, the Italian Cup, the Spanish Super Cups, what we play in. And it's exactly right. So when Ricky Rubio, now I'm off topic a little bit, was like, I need a break, like, I can understand it. It's like, yeah, man, NBA season, national team every summer, since you're 16. Like, that's 20 years of that.
Well, and just you think about the physical toughness of being able to do that and the wear and tear that it takes on your body and the breaks, that you think that you would need, but just the mental capacity that they have to process information, to pursue greatness, to come in and work hard every day to just try and get a little bit better. And that's what they're after. You're just scratching at the thinnest margins to figure out how to be the best in the world at something. It was unbelievable. I learned so much from those players and from my time with USA. It was incredibly impactful. But just the amount of stress and pressure that they're under consistently. And there's no let up. There's no time off.
No. You
have to perform day in and day out. And just that professional mentality is so impressive to see.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've seen it. It's amazing what these guys can do. When you're recruiting or scouting a player, what are 3 things you look for? Maybe your top 3. There's volleyball. I know ours says their position. There's hitters, there's setters, there's all that. But what are like 3 intangibles that are must-haves to play for you?
I love players that have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just I think where we are maybe in the pecking order of collegiate athletics, you want players that come to Utah State with a little bit of grit and toughness and chip on your shoulder.
Yep.
Of, hey, there's nothing in life has been given to them. And maybe they've always been told, hey, they're not big enough or not good enough or not. And they've just kind of grinded their way through. And so I love that mentality in players. And I think that's something that served us really well. We've had not this incredibly physical team. We've had undersized players that have just been really tough mentally. So I love that aspect of things. Obviously, the ability to control the ball.
Yeah.
I think it'd be akin to shooting. Can you shoot it in basketball? Because can you control the volleyball in a lot of different ways? And so I don't know, grit and toughness, and then just how do you control pace? Can you create a lot of pace? For us, you're looking for players. We always say in recruiting, it's an arms race. We want players that can hit it hard.
Yeah.
And can create a lot of pace. And then, for players that aren't doing that, can you then control and take pace off and, make some moves defensively or in serve receive that allow you to kind of command the pace of the ball. But
I know you have to have realistic expectations, but when you came to Utah State, could you imagine being a 3-time back-to-back conference champion? You're the AVCA Coach of the Year from this past season.
Out west, yeah.
Yeah.
Region, I guess, was a... But I don't know. Yeah, there's...
I know you have goals, right? Expectations, but, at some point you got to think, my gosh, is this really happening?
Yeah, that was pretty wild. And I think one of the greatest things, and maybe one of the biggest lessons that I learned in coming to Utah State was the program was so down that you're trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to go about this process of getting better? And it was just kind of like the national team. Here's 30 different ways that we're just going to scratch at the tiniest of margins, and we're going to hope that those things help us get better. Well, you came to Utah State, and we, coming from high-level men's international volleyball where the margins are razor thin to, mid-major women's volleyball where, our program hadn't been great, the margins were massive. So it was like, okay, let's just work on getting better and let's help players to understand and buy into this process of improvement. And that's it. That's all we're going to focus on. We're not going to have goals or expectations or dreams or hopes of winning championships because we're so far afield. We're so far away from that, it's going to take us a long time. And so this is going to be about development and player improvement and player experience.
Former Skyview quarterback and Utah State football walk-on, Ted Stokes has established the #1 bankruptcy law firm in the state of Utah. Stokes Law's playbook is helping individuals and businesses overcome tough financial situations. If you're facing garnishment, repossession, foreclosure, or just overwhelming debt, Give Stokes Law a call at 435-213-4771 or visit their website, stokesbankruptcy.com. Stokes Law is a debt relief agency and provides guidance under the United States Bankruptcy Code.
And then we had that, the first year we were 5-10 in that COVID season. And then that second year we bring in 8 new players. I remember looking around the gym thinking, man, we are way more physical than we were last year. That's got to be good for us. But again, our kind of when we talked about the goals of the team that first year was, hey, can we get into the Mountain West tournament? Women's volleyball only takes the top 6 of 11. Can we get into the tournament? And if we can get into the tournament, I think we can be good enough to win the conference tournament. So that was the goal, year one. Like, can we win the conference tournament? And at the end of, hey, we're just going to have to get better to do that. We're going to have to get a lot better every day in all these thousands of different ways. And it was amazing how quickly that mentality of improvement, spread around the team, how hard they worked in so many different areas, and how quickly those improvements, those little gains aggregated to be something meaningful. We ended up winning the regular season title. We were picked to finish, I think, 10 out of 11.
Yeah.
And we ended up winning the conference title that year. And I was, could I have imagined? No, because I never thought I didn't think about, could we win a championship? Maybe we'd squeak into the tournament. We could play our best volleyball at the end of the year. The amount of work that team did to accomplish something that over the course of the regular season to be the best team in the Mountain West was unbelievable. And it happened faster than I could have hoped. And I think it happened because our players bought into this idea. We're just going to come in and we're going to get better in lots of little different ways. And if everybody buys into that, coaches included and staff included, man, all of a sudden these improvements aggregate and they make for massive gains.
So did you feel like you figured it out like after that first championship? Because some coaches, like, it can be a one-hit wonder. Like, win a championship and then there's 4 years of mediocrity. Did you feel like after that first championship with the roster you had, like, okay, well, now we've got to figure it out. Now I know how this thing rolls, and I'm going to see us or I'm going to make sure we have success the rest of the way.
I think I figured out I'm never going to burden my team with some far expectation of what we should accomplish. I'm going to profess to them every single day, let's just get better. Let's work hard. Let's pick out little things. Let's figure out how to get a little bit better with nutrition and a little bit better with sleep and a little bit better in strength and conditioning and a little bit better with your blocking moves and a little bit better with how you read defensively. And if we can preach that wide enough, then we get people excited that buy into that. I think the players find a lot of success, not only over the course of the season, but I think players are at their happiest when they feel like they're improving day to day. And so I think that was the biggest lesson I took away from winning was, one, man, it's about the player development. It's about how they can improve. And two, it's, man, let's stay away from, hey, our goal is to be champions here. It's, well, how does that relate to what they're doing on a day-to-day basis? No, let's get super focused on the process. Let's just dial into this, and the ball will bounce how it's supposed to bounce. The scores will take care of themselves, as they say. And so that was for sure the biggest lesson to me. And that's just been our mentality and our pursuit ever since.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. That's very insightful. I think, setting those big goals, it kind of sets you up for failure too at times if you just want to talk about that the whole time. But if you're talking about small, attainable daily goals, weekly goals, incremental improvements, by the time you get to the end of the season, those incremental improvements compound over time, and you look back at, holy cow, look how far we've come from where we started. So
can I ask really quickly, because when you were about to set a scoring record your senior year, was there a mindset before the season like, I'm going to go break this scoring record? Or was it one game at a time? Because, I'm sure media was asking you week after week, like, is it going to be this game? Is it going to be this game?
Now, going to my senior was the most stress I ever had going into a season. Because everyone kept asking me, well, what game do you think you're going to break the record? Or that, what days and I'm looking at it, I'm going, I still I have to score 300 points to just tie the record. That's a lot of points that has to be scored. If I miss one game, that's 20 points off the board. Now I have to make up. The next game I have to make up. So, yeah, if I looked at it like that, it was super stressful. But it just was, as Rob said, I had weekly goals that summer that were daily goals. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do this many shots this day, this many shots. At the end of the week, it'll be fine. I'll hit my goal. I sit back. The next Sunday, I set out my daily and weekly goals. And so I just went day by day, week by week. And then I got into the season and honestly, never looked ahead to who was down the road. It was who we play this week. What do we have to do to beat them? So that was just my mindset. It's always worked really well. And I love to hear what Rob is doing there. I met Rob, I think I mentioned this about a year ago. His assistant invited me to a breakfast, and I sat down. I was really impressed. And I asked him some questions about how he was able to be so successful. And I think he's given us a lot of those insights. Now, the other thing he shared with me were some pillars of success. Some is that what you guys call them? Your
core values. I think
values. Your core values.
The way that we talk about it.
Yep. How many core values do you have as a team?
We talked about 4, and I think last year we left it open to our players. Hey, were there things that you wanted to add, but the way that we want to approach things as a coaching staff, we talk about, hey, these are our 4 values. And one we talked about with our players today, belief. Mm-hmm. What do you believe about yourself? And we want players that understand and view themselves as badass women, just tough and capable and skilled and hardworking and just this amazing group. And the fun thing about sports is that you are challenged with that belief all the time, in every way. And it doesn't matter whether you get to the pro ranks and the lights are brighter and you're challenged, or whether you're in club volleyball, wherever you're at, sports will always challenge that belief in yourself and in what you're doing. And, sports will break your heart and they'll just put you in tough places and they'll challenge you in a ton of different ways. And so we want to create an environment that fosters that belief in our players, fosters a belief just like my mentor did for me and we are doing the right things and we are going to be prepared for the toughest moments and we're going to rise in the toughest moments. And so a lot of ways that we compete or try and put them in pressure situations on a day-to-day basis so that they can fail and they can realize, it's not such a bad thing. I failed today, but okay, I get to come back tomorrow and it doesn't change who I am or what I'm about or what I can bring. I just want to compete in these moments. And so we want to instill a massive amount of belief in our players. We talk about we want to pursue high-level competence, so mastery, right? We want to be great in the sport of volleyball. And we think that we do that in our gym through this high-level competition, but also through having a lot of fun while we do it. We compete a lot in a lot of funny ways. We play what we call a lot of stupid games where it's just these little ball control games, small-sided games where they're trying to fulfill some task or do something that's maybe a little bit outside the box, but they have an opportunity to compete and maybe not take themselves so seriously. And so you asked maybe back to kind of this idea of what I'm looking for in a recruit. It would be this ability to be hyper-competitive, but also be able to kind of let my hair down and have a little bit of fun as well. So you have the emotional intelligence to walk that line. Okay. Some people fall into I'm way too competitive. You can't be around them at all. And then others fall on the other side of we just are here to have fun and we're not about doing and accomplishing great things. We want to walk that fine line as we pursue just this high level competence, mastery. So belief, competence, we want our team to be connected with each other and with coaching staff. And so a lot of the things that we do outside of the gym, my wife is a chef and has players over. Our team comes over all the time to our house and they're tied in with our kids. And my kids absolutely love our players. And I think it's vice versa. And it's just this great, outlet for them to see me, hopefully in a different light. And we want our players that are connected with each other and working hard and want to play hard and love, playing hard for each other. And then the last of belief, right? Pursuing high level competence, a high level of connection with each other And then we want our players, we talk about the fourth kind of core value we have is autonomy. We want our players to have ownership of what they do. And so, how are they digging into their process? How are they invested in how they're improving? How do they have say in what we practice or what we do on a daily basis? And we want, to empower women to have a voice and speak up and share their mind and, be able to talk about tough things but really take ownership of a really hard process. And I think our players do a great job with that. So.
No, that's amazing. And like I said, I'm glad this is recorded because I want to take notes of those things. Like those are great. I did get a chance to listen to a couple of your players speak at a year ago. USU put on a women's. I don't know what it was called.
Got a panel for female.
Panel was female athletes. It was they brought back pioneers of Utah State women's athletics, the smoke. But even
it was a Title IX celebration. 50 years of Title IX, and then showed some film of the national championship team, and our players got a chance to speak. So,
and it was unbelievable. I love listening to your volleyball players. We've had some of them down into the spa as well. They're incredibly intelligent. They're articulate. They're smart, and that's also where I met Anna Weaver for the first time on the women's cross country team. So, having 3 daughters. I am very interested in what people do and what coaches are doing in women's sports to empower these women, help them, attain these goals and lofty goals that they might have. So that is unbelievably cool. Has recruiting gotten easier now that you're winning so much?
No. Sorry.
Why not? What's making recruiting?
Is it NIL?
The understanding that where we were recruiting, 3-4 years ago isn't where we need to go to keep moving forward as a program. And so I think you're held up hostage a little bit to the expectations of, hey, where do we want to be? We finished, the year before I got here, they were 300 plus in RPI out of 350 volleyball teams. After our COVID year, we were 190. After our first season, we were co-Mount West champions. We finished 96. The year before this past, I think we finished 46 when we won the conference tournament.
Okay.
And then this last year, we finished 17 or 18 in the RPI.
Yeah.
And so the goal is to keep moving forward, right? It's tough. Obviously, we're graduating a ton of people, but, the athletes that we're looking at to help us move forward, to help us get a little bit more physical. Now we're recruited against some big time teams and big time conferences. And so I don't know. Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like it's gotten easier. I think we're able to tell a compelling story of success.
Yeah.
And I think it's really actually helped us in the transfer portal because, even players that we lose the first time around or make choices and players make all sorts of decisions to go different places for, amenities or, hey, we get to charter or whatever the decision is. Hey, we get to play on TerraFlex floor. And then you get actually in the middle of it and you realize, coach is a little bit crazy. Players aren't really invested in the same way that I want to be. So we've been able to tell a story to maybe some players that were a little disenfranchised in their current experiences. And now, hey, this is, kind of a great culture of winning. We've done it. We know the formula. Come be a part of something great. And so we've had a lot of success, I think, bringing in really impactful transfers.
You're looking for the best place to grab yourself a pizza and, of course, entertainment? Look no further than Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill at 795 East, 1400 North. Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill has your salads, delicious pastas, creative pizzas, all that including watching some good games on TV with your buddies. Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill also has a Thursday through Saturday, 9 p.m. to midnight menu. That's right, 9 p.m. to midnight, Thursday through Saturday, you get the delectable items. Our producer, Adam Lurcher, and myself went there, while Adam had the chicken fingers. I had this beautifully made gourmet hot dog with a delicious pretzel bun wrapped around it. Most importantly, Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill has the best customer service. Their employees were there to take good care of you, led by their manager, Thad Willis. So stop by Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill and let them know that the Unequal Podcast sent you there. 795 East, 1400 North in Logan.
And so that's been great for us.
I think it's amazing. Another great recruiting aspect for you guys is that Estes. I remember I attempted to go to a volleyball match, and it was packed. And I'm joking off from brim to brim, JC. Every part of that gym was packed. And then you go up and I'll go stand and watch next to the window. It's like 4 levels of people back just to try to get a peek of this volleyball game. You try to go into a coach's office, there's people in there. Like, can I just ask you what it's like to be in a place like the Estes Center where it's almost intimidating because it's almost like on top of you. And every opponent, a lot of the opponents on now as comments are commenting on it, how intimidating that place is. What has it done for you, your team, and the experience of playing volleyball at Utah State?
Yeah, volleyball is this anaerobic, explosive sport. And so to have, the excitement you feel when you go and just down the lane and dunk a ball and the stadium goes nuts, that's volleyball every time. We're trying to jump as hard as we can and hit this ball as hard as we can. And so I think the energy from the crowd is unbelievable. You're in this small environment, right? So it's only 1,500 fans to sell out the Estes, which isn't a huge number, but it is loud. Even if there's only 700 fans in there, it's still loud. And so when we get 1,500 packed in there and there's no room for anyone else and you got to stand 5 deep and, the student section breaks our bleachers, it's just this, it's this unbelievably fun and cool environment. And we've dubbed it Club Estes because we want to have kind of this raucous, fun environment. And I can't tell you how many fans after matches would come up and say, that was the first volleyball match I've ever been to, and it was so incredibly fun. That was one of the best sporting events that I've been to, and we love that feel. And those are the moments, you talk about getting excited or emotional about success that we've had. Winning championships has been awesome, but the moments where I've got a little bit teary-eyed were moments when the Estes is packed and, you kind of have the thought of this is what we envisioned building and creating, and this is, what we have, what a great environment. And the other story I tell is, we got to play at Nebraska. Nebraska is like the epicenter of volleyball these days. It's volleyball mecca. And, probably lots of people know they sold out a 90,000 seat football stadium for a volleyball match. That actually happened the week after we played against Nebraska. So we played them the first match of the season. They sell out an 8,500 seat arena every match. They've sold out for 300 straight matches. And I remember coming out of that, and our team came out thinking, man, those fans were so nice. It is way more intimidating to play in the Estes with the students right on top of you screaming, the herd calling out your mistakes. And it is an intimidating place to play, and it's fun, and it just adds to this great environment that I think volleyball should be about.
Does it make you feel proud that you created that? I know you're going to be modest to say it's the players and whatnot, and that's fine, but we are not done. We see it like you created that. Does that ever just kind of hit you and you sit back and think, oh my gosh, look what we, like us team and myself and the staff have built together to create that kind of energy and that kind of home advantage?
Yeah, it's so fun. And those are the times, probably 3 or 4 times where I've gotten weepy-eyed in like the middle of a match. I should be coaching, and their fans are going nuts, and it's just this loud, crazy, fun environment. And just thinking, man, this is exactly what we wanted. This is exactly what we envisioned when we first got here. And this is what we'd hoped for. This is as good as it gets, and as an intimidating place to play as I think there is in the country. And yeah, so we love being a part of it, and we love bringing athletes into that environment.
Okay, it's fun. If anyone has never been there, I took my high school basketball team there to watch last year, and it didn't disappoint. You guys got down early. I don't know how many sets, but you guys got down, but came back to one.
I have a theme about that.
It was a lot of fun.
So good.
Like a little bit of drama.
I had the middle of the grind, you know.
Yeah, Coach, I got to ask you, in the day and age of movement, both players and coaches, one of the most successful in Utah State athletics history of any sport. I'm sure your phone is not quiet during the off season. I'll ask that politely. What keeps you in Logan? People want to know, like, how do you keep a guy like Rob Neilson in Logan for this long? What's done it? And I mean, have you thought of other places? Have other places talk to you? How does that work?
Yeah, I've had offers the last 2 years to go and coach in Power 5 programs and programs that are doing great things. For me, I think one of the things that's been helpful is I've been to sort of the highest levels of the game on the men's side, internationally. Your life doesn't change just because you go coach at a program has a little bit more funding or has a little bit bigger arena and so I don't think I have any illusions of that. For me, I think the decision mostly is about my family and just how much they love being here and how much they love the, life in Logan. We love small town USA in a lot of ways. And then you're going to move, 7 family members somewhere across the country. It's not something that, we're looking to do. And I don't know that, there isn't any place that could call that we think, oh man, that would also be a fun place to live and raise a family and be. But I think we really understand and appreciate how special this is. And it's really tough to run away from happiness and great people and great environment. And so, yeah, we're loving life in Logan.
Hey, you looking for something fun to do this summer? How about you go to Bridgeland Adventure Park, located in Garden City, Utah. Bridgeland Adventure Park has all sorts of adventures from ages 2 to 92. A 4-levels ropes course with 73 events, a giant swing, a 450-foot-long zip line, or get on a tube and head down the 350-foot slide. They're also accepting business corporate groups. You and your office want to get out of the daily grind? Sick of staring at your computer for 8 hours a day? Well, bring the company over to Bridgeland Adventure Park. Enjoy some delicious food, a snow cone, a fun time with your coworkers, and lasting memories. Bridgeland Adventure Park is located at 722 South First Light Drive in Garden City, Utah. For more information and questions, go to blap.rocks. That's BLAP.rocks.
So, yeah, family, how many kids, what ages are there? How many kids you have?
I got 5 kids.
5 kids.
Yeah.
Who's the oldest?
My wife, Sarah, is just this rock star. Like I said, she went to culinary school. We're lucky that she gets to, be at home and help our kids out. Our oldest is Etta, Elizabeth. We call her Etta. She's 15, so she's just learning to drive. She's a sophomore at Green Canyon. And my wife is kind of the artist of the family. She's a beautiful singing voice and was in culinary arts and plays instruments and was in music theater. And so my daughters have sort of gravitated towards that.
Oh, wow.
So that's what Etta does. And then I have a son, Liam, who's 13, a daughter, Charlotte, who's 11, a son, Whit, who's 9, and a daughter, Lois, who's just kind of the dictator of the family. 4. And she just runs the show. So we're all beholden to her. But it's great kids, so lucky. And like I said, you mentioned having daughters and people to look up to. That's one of my favorite things about being in college athletics. It's just these unbelievable women for my girls to look up to and my sons to look up to, and just how hard they work and what they accomplish and how accomplished and ambitious they are in lots of different areas of their life, not just in volleyball, but they're great students, great people, great in the community. They're just, an unbelievable group of women.
Well, Coach, before we go in, we'll play a game of rapid fire. Can I just shoot some off-the-cuff questions to you? Pre-game routine, what is it for you? Are you superstitious?
Not at all. Zero superstitious. I don't get nervous before games. It's just hang out with my staff. We joke around, get a meal, watch a little video, and let's go.
Best date night in the Cache Valley?
Best date night in Cache Valley. My wife and I, we like going to movies. We like going to restaurants. You know, she enjoys good food, so we try and get out and try some different places. And so, you know, different dinners. We like just hanging out with our friends.
What's your go-to movie?
Go-to movie? I don't know. I've been on like a adventure kick, you know, or an action movie kind of kick. So I don't know. I like the most recent Mission Impossible was entertaining. You know, just something I can turn my brain off and be entertained by.
Dream vacation.
Man, probably someplace warm where we can just hang out and relax, or, you know, someplace cool. Going to Europe is fun. I love going to Asia and exploring places over there. Just some fun to go explore with my wife.
Most difficult championship to win? You're the first one, second one, or third one?
Oh, the next one. Yeah, number 4.
Touche.
We're rebuilding now, and you know, I'm hoping it's just a reload, because we got a really talented group of players coming in. I mentioned being from Croatia. We got a couple Croatian players that are going to play with us that are talented and can play fast and play at high levels. So we're really excited about that.
Favorite meal your culinary artist wife could make?
She made like salmon and rice with a mango salsa dish about 5 years ago that I still think about. But I'm a steak guy, so just anything with steak, and she sears it off and, you know, cooks it rare, and let's go. Well salted, well seasoned.
Yes, sir.
Best player you ever coached or played against?
Best player I ever coached. Yeah, probably my guy Taylor Sander from BYU. Was just this unbelievable athlete, great player. Went from his senior year at BYU, graduated, and we talk about that chasm of talent, and he went to immediately starting with the national team and was the MVP of a international tournament his first year out of college. And so just as talented a kid as you could ever imagine. This guy game for days.
I mentioned talent. Would you rather have talent or work ethic?
Work ethic.
How come?
Well, you got. I guess we need some semblance of talent.
There's something. There's a minimum level of talent that has to be had.
Yeah, and then just you want kids that have grit and determination. I think in the end, right, those are the ones that are going to be able to. I think great talent can get you to be good at your sport, but can it get you to be great or elite at your sport? And I just think you have to have an unbelievable amount of work ethic and, just this passion and obsession to get better. So hopefully we can find some people with both.
Coach, I'm sure you're willing. Thank you for your time today. That was a blast. That was a lot of fun. Congratulations on your success, and we look forward to seeing more of it at Utah State.
Thank you, guys.
Jaycee, thank you.
Yes.
That's fun, man.
Thank you.
That was awesome. That's been Unequal. Big thanks to our sponsors. Big thanks to the Painted Roses for welcoming us in. Rate, subscribe, 4.5 stars, or as Jaycee says, 5.5. And subscribe for our podcast as well. Hope you enjoyed it. This has been Unequal with Rob Neilson on Unequal.
Oh, mama, what a tune could get me to feel this way. I think I'll be coming home. It's been such a long time. Oh, I think I might have made one too many a mistake. If you help me find my way, I promise I'll do the same